Hi you guys. So this is another poetry analysis. So like I want to have some consistency with the types of videos that I make, but like it's sometimes hard to like know what to do because like I'm an English major, but like I like music too, so mostly I do lots of music because I think music is, you know, really popular on YouTube and can be something that's more exciting, I think, than just speaking. But sometimes people can speak really nicely and eloquently, and the words can flow like honey or like chocolate milk, whatever simile you want to say. But anyway, like, so these are going to be two poets, and I like these. The theme that I wanted to get was like seasons, because that's like my poetry manuscript is like that, and my poetry anthology is like that. And also I made two poems recently to continue off of the trajectory that I was going for. Like before, when I was in high school, like I made a poem, acrostic poems are like when you have the name, you have some name, and then like each letter in the name, in the word, is then the first letter in the line of the lines of the poems, right? It's kind of confusing to explain, but that's what it is for acrostic poems. You'll understand, like, if you see the description box in my poetry video. So these two poets, I might show pictures of them. I'm not sure if I can still know how to do that. But okay, so the first person is, it's like a poem about summer. So this first poem is a poem about summer. And Summer is sometimes a girl's name, right? And you can name your daughter, if you want to name daughter Summer, that's good, right? If you want to, or... anyway, so this is a poem called A Summer's Night, and it's by Laurence Dunbar. Okay, so let me read the poem first and then we'll analyze it, just so you understand all the words, like how to say the words, right? Because not everyone is good at English, right? We have to be mindful. Some people don't speak English well and they don't understand, but you can do subtitles. I'm not sure if there's some way you can do subtitles, but probably it's not always, I might have to do something, but I don't know how to do that. So it's just, you know, learning English is really important if you live in America, and if you live in any English-speaking country in Western civilization countries, right? But it's not always easy, right? And we shouldn't judge people. Like, if you need to, in certain jobs, they might require you to speak good English, right? But not everyone can do that. So, you know, it's hard to like eliminate your accents, right? Because I have an accent too, and I felt like in my life I was just not taken seriously because people always judged me for like my accent, for how I speak, and like I have this kind of accent, and like I could maybe go speech classes and do some speech therapy or something, but I don't really want to do that, right? I'm already doing other kinds of therapy, and I'm an unofficial music therapist, I think, in my role, because like I'm creating a lot of positive music, and I think that's really helpful for, you know, in these times that we live in, where things are always uncertain, and there's always people who just, you know, you know, I'm so like just talking so much. Okay, so let's go into this. That's just my spiel, okay, in the beginning that I did. Usually I say those things at the end of the videos. Okay, so here's the poem. Okay. So the night is dewy as a maiden's mouth. The skies are bright as are a maiden's eyes. Soft as a maiden's breath, the wind that flies up from the perfumed bosom of the south. Like sentinels, the pines stand in the park, and hither hastening, like rakes that roam, with lamps to light their wayward footsteps home. The fireflies come stagg'ring down the dark. Okay, so I'll put the poem in the description box, and then, so like, just some literary devices from the start. Like, you can see how there's like similes, a lot of similes. Sometimes he uses like, and sometimes he uses as. He says dewy as a maiden's mouth, right? That's as. So the night is compared to the night's dewiness is compared to the maiden's mouth. How the saliva in the mouth is dewy, right? It's like everyone's mouth has saliva, right? We all have saliva. Some people, they sometimes spit when they're talking, and some people cannot have more salivary glands are more active than others, right? There's saliva. Sometimes when you are really hungry or you see something really appetizing, you can have saliva, right? So anyway, that's dewy. So instead of salivary, he says dewy, but that's the similar synonym kind of for the maiden's mouth, right? And then the skies are bright as are a maiden's eyes. So as he used the word as, the sky's brightness is compared, that quality of brightness is compared to the quality of like the glistening of someone's eye, where there's like some brightness, you know, when you see the eye, when, you know, artists, they draw people's eyes, and also in pictures and just in real life, when you see eyes, like they say sometimes the eye is like the soul, like the gateway to someone's soul or whatever, and like really need to take care of our eyes, because like sometimes you can see sickness in people's eyes, like if it's a certain color, it can be indicative of a sickness. That's why in the past, that's doctors, they always check people's eyes, you know, the ear, eye, nose, throat doctor, or that's ear, nose, and throat doctor, but that's different. The eye doctor is, of course, there you can go get your glasses. That's, I'm not like a doctor, but you know, just showing like your health can be representative in certain, in your skin tone and everything, right? And in your eyes, if there's, you have redness or other colors too, right? There can be other colors too in the eyes. If you get a black eye, right? Because like my friend like David, I remember he got a black eye at one point. I don't talk to him anymore, but like he got a black eye like when he was playing some sport. I felt really bad, like it was so sad. Like some sports are really dangerous, right? You don't want to get a concussion, but he had like a black eye, right? You can get a black eye if your eye is all swollen. You can get redness in your eyes, indicative of many different diseases or just certain conditions, some more serious than others, right? So anyway, the skies are bright as are a maiden's eyes. So the brightness is like, you know, it's like clarity. It's bright, you know, if it's too dark, you can't really work in a dark environment, right? That's why you always have those really bright LED lights in your classrooms, right? In your workplaces, those bright, or other kinds of light, I don't know, like fluorescent or whatever other kinds of light, you know, there's many different kinds of light, you know, and some are in certain countries and some are in other countries and some are in both. So with the different types of light. So yeah, skies are bright, and you know, and then it says soft as a maiden's breast. So the softness, that quality, then so there's dewiness, then brightness, and there's another quality, the softness is compared to a maiden's breath. Her breath is soft. Breath can like be not just breathing, but like the breath of your when you're speaking, like your tone, like how you speak is soft, and like the way she speaks, her words, and also the words that she speaks are not like provocative and not like, you know, accusatory. The words themselves, right, it could mean that too. I think the words of the maiden's breath are soft and not accusatory, not provocative, and they're really just pleasant words. And also the breath, she can breathe, and right, okay, so, and it's soft as, and it says later, as the wind that flies. So the wind is also can be soft, and sometimes the wind can be, you know, really excessive, and in certain days of the year, in certain countries, right, and in certain elevations. So the wind that flies, but it's saying here the wind is nice and pleasant, just as her breath. So then up from so those are some similes, right? And then it says also, so nature, I feel like in this poem there's like nature is guiding him, right, out of his oppression. So nature, like, because this is, you know, late 1800s, early 1900s, so of course at a certain point, that's during like the Civil War, around that time period, right? So, but he probably wrote this later. Anyway, like during that time period of the Civil War, and like, you know, the Great Depression's a little bit later, and all those things, and still like institutionalized slavery and like institutionalized discrimination after a certain point, right? You have to understand these undertones and the context of things, right? You don't want to just take it for what it's worth, but you have to understand the context of things, not just the literal, you know, scriptural definition, the scriptural literalism. You don't want to have too much literalism always, but you have to understand things at a certain level, but try to go deeper with certain analysis, right? So like nature is guiding him, I think, out of his oppression. And then he mentions like maiden. What does it say, maidens? So like maidens are kind of like, you know, symbolic of like Virgo, like I'm a Virgo, right? Maidens are people who are virgins, right? And they don't, virgins, or like they are, you know, young, a certain level age, and like maidens, they are, you know, they do the ceremonial roles. They help like in the church setting, or like in the Greek, maidens were like, you know, they talk about maidens in like Greek mythology, right? Roman mythology and Greek mythology. Some of those gods and goddesses and some of those people, right, are described in Greek mythology. Like maidens are just, you know, that kind of thing where they're like a servant position, right? It's kind of like a servant position, like a domestic position. So anyway, so anyway, nature, I feel like also in this poem, like nature is watching over him, and the nature is watching over him, right? It says like sentinels, the pines stand in the dark, and the lamps are there, fireflies, and so I think nature is watching over him. There's like animals. I feel like also it's saying, like it says, like rakes that roam with lamps to light their wayward footsteps home. The fireflies come staggering down the dark. So I feel like animals and plants, like the flora and fauna, like everything is working. They're already fulfilling many tasks and duties that we are like, we have certain inventions, right? Like the rake is an invention, and like the lamp is an invention, right? Those things are inventions that humans made, but like creation, like animals and plants have already fulfilled some of these characteristics, some of these abilities. Nature, animals and plants have already been fulfilling these things, and we just like look to nature, look to God, and we understand how to harness that power with certain things, right? Certain inventions, certain objects, certain inventions, right? Like a rake and a lamp. So like some of these things are already represented in nature, like just how like we are made in the image of God, right? And we just have to know how to harness God's power, and then we create these things that are already represented in nature, like lamps or like fireflies, right? So there's fireflies, they already can harness the power of the light, and sentinels is like a kind of occupation, and like people who like bodyguards or like people who watch over certain things, and like sentinel, it can also be like an actual, like I think it's like a, you know, location, like that's the or it can be a person, but also like it can be, you know, just that area where it's like like a tower, like a watchtower kind of thing, right? It's like usually they're in a watchtower. So like, so you know, just those things that we've created, these different words that we've created, they already were in existence, right? And we're just learning how to, that's something I got from this poem, is like nature's guiding him out of his oppression, nature's watching over him, and then he's learning from nature like these things. And also like with how, when he in the beginning, when he compares different parts of nature to a maiden, like so he's really showing his love for some woman, right? And how his love for the woman and his love for like nature, like he wants to be guided out of the darkness, right? He wants to be guided out of the oppression. The darkness is like the oppression, right? He wants to be guided out of this vicious cycle, and like all of these things, these emotions, these negative emotions. And you know, things can be clear if you just think of things differently, if you put things in perspective, and if you think of things, your situation and like your personality and like everything around you, you have more peripheral awareness and you can see things in a different way. And yeah, okay, that's all I want to say for that one. Okay, that's a lot, and this is a shorter poem than the other one, so okay, let me find the other one. So that's summer, right? That one's about summer. Okay, so let me see this one. Okay, so this is the last one I want to say in this video. Okay, so this one. Okay, so we're still here. Okay. Are you still with me? Oh my god, please don't go to sleep. Like Jesus, right? Like Jesus said to his disciples, right? Don't sleep, you need to stay awake. Stay with me, concentrate, focus. Don't go to sleep, like, while we're doing this, okay? I know. Anyway. Okay, so this is one. Okay, so the spring has many silences. This is called, the poem is called The Spring Has Many Silences. So this is one that I found. It's by Laura Writing Jackson. Okay, Laura Writing Jackson. I might put a picture, I think, if I can know how to do that again. So she was born 1901, and then she died 1991. So she lived for 90 years. And the other poem, he lived from the 1870s to like early 1900s, right? So okay, I'll try to put the birth and date, the birth, and then when they died, if I can, and their names. Okay, so let me see. So let me read this first. Okay, the spring has many sounds. Roller skates grind the pavement to noisy dust. Birds chop the still air into small melodies. The wind forgets to be the weather for a time, and whispers old advice for summer. The sea stretches itself, and gently creaks and cracks its bones. The spring has many silences. Buds are mysteriously unbound, with a discreet significance, and buds say nothing. There are things that even the wind will not betray. Earth puts her finger to her lips, and muffles there her quiet, quick activity. Do not wonder at me that I am hushed. This April night beside you, the spring has many silences. So I think I wrote a lot for this one because it's a little bit longer, but and the other one I could talk about more, so it's good. So this one, you know, the imagery is like, you know, different things, human activities like roller skating, but also a lot about mostly about nature. Just one thing about the human activity with the roller skates, and at the end, when she says, "Don't like question me," like I'm being engrossed in the natural environment. I'm learning about the natural environment, right? You're being captivated by the natural environment. So that's what she's saying, right? She's seeing how she describes things in a certain way, and just a few human activities like roller skating and other things. But in addition to that, like there's personification, right? She compares the activities of the natural environment to what humans can do, right? Because the wind cannot really forget anything, right? That forgetting is a human thing, right? And of course, some people can forget more easily if they have Alzheimer's or another form of dementia, right? So like the wind forgets, that's, you know, personification. The wind whispers, the wind is talking about saying old advice for summer, right? So, and then the sea stretches. The sea cannot actually stretch, right? It's a way of describing things to make it more unique and more colorful, right? And then it also says the sea creaks and cracks its bones, right? Maybe the bones can be like coral reefs. The bones can be the rocks and like the mountains and like different, those things, right? The geography and topography of the ocean floor, right? The ocean floor has all those like bones, like the coral reefs, right? So I think like that, those are all, buds say nothing, right? Betrayal, right? Wind betraying things, that's also a human thing, right? The wind will not betray. And the earth putting a finger to her lips, that's another personification, right? So, and then alliteration, I also saw like alliteration. So did I say everything for this one? Okay, so also like personification. So yeah, so alliteration is like the sea stretches, right? SS. The sea stretches, creaks and cracks, that's more alliteration. And like quiet, quick, the quiet, quick activity. So those are all alliteration, right? So like there's no need to speak, right? She feels like there's no need to speak. Like there's no need to speak, and there's like the antithesis. I got this like juxtaposition, antithesis or contrast of like there's like noise. There's some noise versus silence. So the opposite of silence is like noise, or just not just noise, but just like chatter or noise, or versus silence, right? In this poem, there's that sense of antithesis, and like the people. There are like people, birds, and oceans. These are some things, and the flower buds say nothing. So I think Miss Jackson, like Miss Laura writing Jackson, she wants to be like the flowers, right? And good things, and also like the concept like good things can happen in silence, right? There can be good things that happen in silence. Good ideas can sprout in silence. When there's silence, sometimes good ideas can formulate. And so some people, the concept, like some people just want to be left alone, right? Some people don't want your advice, or some people just don't want to be questioned, and some people don't want to be like in group settings. Some people don't like to be in group settings, and some people have social anxiety, right? That's a real thing, right? And also in this poem, when you look at it actually in the words, in the text, if you look down in the description box, there's like some ellipses. Ellipses are like the dots. At the end of certain stanzas, there's like 3 dots. two of the stanzas there's ellipses, so like you know, that's showing like progression, like moving on, like there's some passage of time. It can be like ellipses show the passage of time, and like just things are, it's like the same day in and day out, or there's just other events happening, there's like passage of time. So as these actions are cyclical and like unending perhaps, and then like some parts of nature are interacting with other parts of nature just like we humans do. It says like the wind is whispering old advice for summer, and the wind will not betray, like the wind, the earth is telling the wind to not say something, right? Some people, the earth is saying, putting a finger to her lips to make sure the wind doesn't betray what its feelings, the earth's energy or something, right? And like certain things are interacting, like nature is interacting, I think. So okay, just like humans do. So like there's different, you know, there's like food chains, food webs, right? Everything is interacting, not just for, you know, sustenance, but also like for, you know, relationships. They're like interacting, right? And the animals, the plants, everything, right? And then however, the wind will not always give advice for certain things, like things that are beyond its control, right? In awe of, like she's being in awe of, like Miss Jackson is being in awe of nature. The wind forgets to be weather, and we sometimes forget, like with the wind forgetting how to be weather, it's like sometimes we forget how much fun we're having while we're doing our jobs, or just while we're, you know, in society, out in public or whatever, right? Sometimes we forget how much fun we're having or while we're doing our jobs, and then we sometimes have like the occasional personal conversation or something, right? Sometimes we have these conversations, like she kind of gets back in reality, like she says to someone who's next to her, she says, "Do not wonder at me that I am hushed this April night beside you," right? Sometimes you just don't have know what to say, and you have these like, and then you have these moments where you come back to reality, and like you're wondering, like, is this all just a dream, or like what am I experiencing, what's happening around me? And like you're wondering, are things the way they are, or is there something that I can do to change society? Is there some impact that I can do? Is there like a social movement that I can join? Is there some cause that I can be a part of? Is there like some, that's what you're thinking, like if nature is all this way, like is there something that I can do to change my environment, right? Because we all know our impact, our ecological impact on nature, and of course we can do things to lessen that. And like also just like realizing these little things from nature, like these certain the way nature moves, and the way nature the actions that nature has, the different actions that different parts of nature have. You're realizing like more about yourself, you're learning more about yourself, and you're learning more about the people around you, and you're realizing what kind of person you want to be, what kind of animal, which animal's qualities, like in fables, right? Which animal's qualities do you want to exhibit, and like which plants qualities do you want to exhibit to, like to the people around you. And you're realizing what kind of plant do you want to be, what kind of animal do you want to be, like in terms of the qualities that they have, and not just those stereotypical qualities that we assign, but like things that they actually do, and things that they actually, their habitats, and like how they behave. Certain, you know, people study these things, right? Like Jane Goodall and other women have studied, right? And like the woman who studied giraffes in Africa, right? There's a woman, I saw a documentary a little bit, a woman who studied giraffes in Africa. I forget her name, but yeah, just like these things that you're learning about, and like you want to, like Muffles there for her, like there's, and like the earth is putting a finger to her lips, right? It's showing humility, like the earth doesn't want to be recognized for what it does, even though it does so much, right? The Mother Earth does so much for us, and like the environment is always doing so much for us, and always trying to heal itself, right? The earth always tries to heal itself whenever there's a fire, a wildfire, whenever there's an earthquake, whenever there's a flood. Nature will always try to go back to equilibrium, go back to homeostasis, and that's something our bodies do too. Whenever we have a sickness, whenever we have some kind of something, we always, the body and the earth, everything always tries to restore equilibrium, restore order amidst the chaos, amidst all the destruction and the decay and the evils of the world, right? That's something that the earth always does, but it doesn't want recognition. The earth just wants, it puts a finger to her lips, and she's like, I don't need to be recognized, it's just the way it is. And like we all have to just recover, and like we're all healing from different things in our lives, and it could have been an experience that was yesterday, it could have been an experience a few years ago or a long time ago, right? It could be whatever happened in the timelines of our lives, right? And where you might know someone that someone else knows, and then but you might know some people that the other person doesn't know, right? So you know some people, but another person knows some of those people that you know, but they don't know everyone that you know, right? So like this kind of concept is a little bit confusing, but you know, there's always some people that you know that other people know, and some people that you know that other people don't know, right? So this kind of thing where like I'm speaking really fast, sorry, you don't understand. Like it's just like you don't know everyone that everyone knows, and you shouldn't try to get to know everyone that everyone knows, right? Because we all have our own unique connections. We have our own unique connections, and we have our own unique personalities, and like we shouldn't always, you know, try to just assert ourselves into other people's lives, insert ourselves and assert like who we are, asserting who we are and inserting ourselves in people's lives. Because sometimes, you know, some people believe like people who like you or people who want to get to know you will reach out to you first, and that's something you can believe in. And sometimes it's good to be the initiator and of conversations and try to get to know people, right? But yeah, the concept of healing, how the earth always heals itself in whatever attacks the earth, and no matter what, even if the earth itself attacks itself in other ways, right, through natural disaster, but also through human destruction, right? When humans do certain things to the environment, the earth will always try to heal itself in the best way it can, and sometimes its best effort is not enough, right? And sometimes humans have to heal what other people did before and what they themselves did, and then it has to heal, and whoever's the culprit, whoever's the perpetrator, right, we shouldn't just point our fingers. We should just instead put our fingers to our lips instead of pointing our fingers, because then the fingers will point back to us when we point to other people. The earth is healing itself, homeostasis, and whenever we get sicknesses, either real physical sickness, but also like psychological sicknesses, right? Those are also real, even though we cannot see sometimes, but the psychological sicknesses and emotional sicknesses and baggage that we all have. We have all these baggage as we go to the airports. We carry our baggage, what our best set of clothes, what we want to wear when we go to another country. We want to represent ourselves well in other countries, and we bring our best, whatever we want to bring, and like other hygiene or whatever things that we bring, and we want to be presentable, and we want to really be those dignitaries or those, you know, diplomats. And we have, like, that's something, right? But we have baggage even if we're not going somewhere far away. We just have baggage, and we just need to learn to be minimalistic, right? Be minimalist in some ways, but sometimes it's good to not just always letting go, but sometimes we just have to reflect and understand like how to sort through what we have, and like sometimes you don't need to let go everything, right? If you have some childhood photos, or if you have some documents, some certificates in your closet, you might have some certificates, or you might have some like childhood photos, and you don't, or some letters, you have some letters, and you don't want to just throw away everything, right? Like sometimes I didn't throw away everything, right, in my life, but sometimes in our moments of anger or rage, we might throw away some things that have hurtful memories. Sometimes we want to throw away what we don't want to keep, and of course we never remember, unless you have photographic memory, right? You can never remember everything in your life, and sometimes it's good to have that kind of amnesia, having that amnesia, and you can't always so like you have amnesia, right? Like, but sometimes you have amnesia, but the other opposite of amnesia, right? Sometimes you have deja vu, right? And sometimes you have deja vu, you feel like this happened before, but then sometimes you just have amnesia, and like you remember something, but it's just bits and pieces, right? Just stream of consciousness. So just, I think for this poem, right, these things, these unspoken things, all these things nature can be telling us, nature's telling us and showing us, but we just are not always aware of what nature's telling us, and we just want to look inward. Okay, that's just, okay, some of my words. So this poems too can really be ways to understand, not just tarot cards. Like tarot cards are good too, like I like to do that, but also just like you know, we can do also like, yeah, in poems, I think we can learn a lot about ourselves and those around us, right, with poems. Okay. Sorry, this is really long. I think hopefully I said everything that I wanted to say. Okay.